festive. I guess festive isn't the right word. A feisty, that's a better word. SanAntonio FC Fancast. I guess I should put the mic a little bit closer. I'm the host. I'm going to start with Matt. You look very happy. Your Houston Dynamo won Copatejas. Congratulations.
I'm alright. I'm more tired than happy.
All right. Jonathan, Man City, according to AJ, is winning it all this year. So congrats after one game. And he's talking shit to me about Sunderland, of all things.
Top of the table, even if Matt didn't want to admit it earlier.
Matt, how did Man U do? Did they get a draw?
I don't know. How did Newcastle do?
They got a road draw. They should have won, but they got a road draw. If we would have had Isaac or a striker, I think we would have won. But
there's always a what if.
Yeah, that's a lot of what ifs.
You sound like freaking Madrid and Barcelona right now.
How tragic! Your
we haven't played yet.
Owned football club can't pay for a striker right now. How sad! No excuses.
Rafa, you got your striker in, but something tells me you're not happy.
I mean, I've seen I guess you can say the defense. It was like watching CYO YMCA soccer. I guess you can say the defense.
I've got so many questions about Richard Sanchez. I'm over him, dude. Put the kids in. I'm just gonna be up front. The dude was circling 410 more than he was in the goalie box last night. It just and I don't know if it may have been because of the defense. You know, it is what it is. But I don't know. So where do we want to get started here? I guess with the injuries, right? That's where we go with the availability report here, Jonathan.
Sure. We, as I had mentioned on our last show, actually, when I checked the preliminary injury report, Mohamed Omar was available for selection again. But that was the only change on the injury report. And then I didn't realize it, but Lucio Barón had picked up his 8th yellow card, so he was suspended for this match.
I don't think anybody realized it.
Yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, I looked and it was in the previous USL News and Notes from about a week earlier that he was on accumulation warning. So no excuses for any of us. But realistically, even if he was available, I don't know if he would have been in that starting lineup.
I think he would, but yeah, that's a fair point. So, speaking of the starting lineup, the starting lineup here came out with Dimitri, Jake, Jorge, Almir, Nicky, Leo Irita, 16-year-old 08 player, Jimmy Madranda, Abdi Salim, Alexis Sohe, Harvey, and Sanchez. On the bench, Daniel Nanami, Agudelo, Tainer, Gomez, Omar, Cronelli, Buckmaster, Pacheco, and Landry Walker. When I saw this lineup, and I think our friend Chelsea friend, I forget his username on Twitter, came out and was like, "Is this a joke?" It's a statement to come out with this lineup in league play with the cup, and I understand player rotation, and I understand probably from a financial aspect, because if you win the Jägermeister Cup, you get, I think it's $100,000. I understand, and you're 3 games away from that, right? 3 games. So I kind of understand it, but yet how loaded the West is, or how crowded the West is, and the performance, it was a statement. Matt, your thoughts on the lineup when you saw it, if you saw it, because sometimes you don't see it.
The only question I had was Leo. I didn't think he was going to be in. And then, who's the other one? The one that's not showing the picture. I forgot who it was.
Abdi Salim, and
Yeah.
I have a bone to pick on that, but I'll wait till you're done. He's a center back that was on the 25-day contract. That
Alexis,
signed.
right?
No, Swohei was signed in the offseason. Abdi Salim
Oh.
is the one that they signed.
The 25 day.
The 25 day, and then extended him. And if you go to the SAFC SAFC website, he has a picture on there. They just haven't updated it on the starting 11. So come on,
So
SAFC,
it was just those
get with
two.
it.
Those were the only two I was just iffy about. And then if we were gonna give everybody a chance, I thought they would have put in a different goalkeeper. Just mine. I would have gave Joey a chance if we're doing everybody. So that's just me.
That's a fair point. Jonathan, your thoughts?
Yeah, as soon as I saw the lineup, it was pretty obvious what the priority this week is. It certainly was not this league game. It's probably okay. I was about to say I suddenly am not hearing anything, so I don't know if they'll cut
We
me
hear
off.
you.
Well, I didn't hear you guys, so I was wondering what was going on. Anyway, yeah. So now SAFC puts all their eggs in that basket. You better advance on Wednesday, because if you don't, what was Saturday night for? And then, especially if you don't advance on Wednesday, 3 days later, you're playing an away match out on the West Coast. So you could easily then have three losses
without
in a week.
Hernandez now.
We'll get there. We'll get there. That's at the end of the match. Yeah, it was a heavily rotated lineup. The funny thing is, if you read my recap, you'll know that for a few of these guys, it was their first start since June 25th. I think that was the case for Salim, Suai, and Erofeev. At the very least, those three. June 25th, anyone remember what happened? 2-0 win away in Colorado Springs.
But that was
Lightning
due
does not strike twice.
But that was due to Paderas.
It was due to Paredes, but I mean,
coming
hey,
on
just
and
trends, omens, you never know.
That was his coming out party.
So, for what it's worth, though, like that shows that having these players in the lineup doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a bad performance. It's just rotation. And if you have a few of the right pieces around them, then it's a team that can still get a result. I think Colorado Springs, similar to Lexington SC last night, with all due respect, not the strongest teams, not the most punishing teams to play. That's why SAFC was able to get that result against the Switchbacks. Wasn't able to get it against Lexington, and I mean, we're still talking about the lineup, but when we get into the actual match, it was a poor performance from that lineup.
Yeah, so you put on here Dimitri and Abdi made their first league start since June 25th. Swohei, first competitive start since June 25th, and last started a match on April 12th. And you also mentioned that Alex Crinali missed his first league action of the year. So
No
you
Iron
can, of
Man.
course, see this at .wordpress.com to catch all the great stuff that Jonathan puts out and all of his hard work that he does for that here.
I'll tell you bad news you didn't know you needed to know. in
Well, you
a
have some good
situation
stuff
like
on
this.
there.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, like interesting little factoids and stuff, things where I'm like, when was the last time this happened? So, it's informative, even if you don't want to read about it, even if it's not pleasant reading.
Well, here's another. Well, we can argue about this, but you have SAFC has lost consecutive home matches twice this season, something that had previously only happened once since May of 2016, which was the first season. I contend that they have lost 3 in a row, but technically, with the draw during the Jaeger Cup for that here. And then this was the first time that they were held scoreless since June 5th of 2024, ending 21 home matches for that here. So that's a good start. I don't even know where to go.
Well, I mean, I think the obvious thing here is, what wasn't a good start? SAFC. Matt, Rafa,
here's how they lined up. Dimitri Lakava up top and LaCava, dude, I'm sorry, he's got to go. He's a wasted space right now. Hernandez, Soto, Hernandez, Urita, who I thought played well, and we can talk into his performance. Jimmy Ladronda, Salim, Swohe, and Neville, and then Sanchez in the back. I know we've kind of flirted about the lineup here, kind of talked a little bit about the game. Your thoughts on the lineup here? Matt or Rafa?
I guess, your makeshift lineup if you're going to win next week. So, but I was impressed with our the academy player. A little surprised
Rita.
about that. Yeah, Rita. I was impressed by them. I think he might be a little diamond in the rough. So I think he might get better. But we got what we wanted. We got Miranda on the wing, so on the outside defense.
We asked for it.
We asked for it. So I mean, no bones there. The key was the central defense, and that's when I started seeing a lot of the issues last night. A lot of hand raising, and I think also it affected our goalkeeper's play because it's awfully similar to somebody a few years ago that they were making a bunch of mistakes because they had no trust in their defense. Like I said, that was just unlucky.
You say it's unlucky. I
Well,
understand it's unlucky. To me, the issue, and look at Sanchez. He gets caught in no man's land. There's either no communication.
Two things there. If you go kind of put it back where he's running up. Before even Nicky touches it. So he's already kind of committed there. He's at the right space.
If he stays right there, he catches it.
Well, if he stays, like I say, he's staying there. You see, he's anticipating. You see that little gap right there of space?
Mm-hmm.
That's where he's anticipating where that ball is going to drop. And that's why he ran up. But once you see how Nicky's going up and once he hits it,
it goes anywhere. Yeah,
it goes in anyway. So really, two things. Richard should have called him off and say, hey, my ball. And that ball falls into the space and he gets it. Now you also run the risk of one of the Lexington players to go in there and try to tap it in. But the other thing is, if he's already like I said, him hitting it, he's already committed. He's pretty much has no chance to stop that.
But I think he loses his step there. If you look, he loses his step.
He slips a little bit.
Right there.
Yeah, he slipped right there.
He gets, and whether it's communication, you're a goalkeeping coach, so you know position more than I could ever know. I don't know.
I mean, he's at the right place. He's covering his near post. That's where he's supposed to be at. But the problem is that he has to call off Nicky on that play. If you're gonna commit to that play, call him off. That way he can scoop that ball into that space. Him not calling him off allowed Nicky to hit the ball, and hey, like I said, just by luck, that happened. And he's out of position to even if he's back in the middle, he still probably wouldn't even gone to that. It'd have been very difficult to even try to tap it over the post.
So Atlanta Card mentioned he didn't have an issue with the lineup, but there are two players who fans are losing patience that are always starting. I wonder who those are. I'm going to say LaCava and Sanchez. I don't know.
If Milano wants to put them on there, go ahead and put their names on there.
And then good buddy Chris Leha with MCS Contracting. Here, let me pull this over here. For that here, if you follow them at MCS_GC, they do great work with cracked driveways, backyards. I know if you follow them, the pools through here. So, like I said, if you have cement needs, Chris likes watching cements dry. That's what he's famous for. So reach out to him. for out here, like I said here. But yeah, if you go onto MCS underscore GC, do a lot of great coverage for San Antonio podcasts on YouTube for out here as well. So
Hey, he said he likes to watch Barca, not Barca, Madrid get Diamond Heart too. So just saying.
Well, he likes watching the refs get paid off. That's what happened yesterday.
So, and I know Jonathan doesn't have it in the notes. He was very kind. Do you want to say what you put in the notes, Jonathan? And then we will bury SAFC's defense for the rest of the first half because you were too kind.
Well, I think what you're referring to is me saying how that match should have been over by halftime, how Lexington should have been up 3-4-0 by that point.
You put Lexington missed a few good chances, hit frame of a goal, forced big save, better team would have buried SAFC. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say that's very, 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 very kind because there was one where the defender went right around Sanchez while he was going around 410, kicked the ball in the middle, and the guy did what SAFC does, what Jake LaCava, and kicked a field goal instead of kicking a goal. There was another one where it was a cross, the guy was wide open. I think there was a save on that one, right?
He did make a great save on one of them.
Yeah, he did a great. And then the last one that that the TV announces for Firmino, just layered it and then kicked it well out. It should have been 4-0 at half. It was one of the worst halves that I've ever seen from San Antonio FC. Possibly going all the way back to the Scorpion years, that last year in 2015. It was a half that was on par with that. Just no communication. Players, you could just tell the players didn't enjoy playing this game. I don't know if I guess it was real humid. That night. I don't understand what happened. Because Coach Lamosa, the last 2 weeks has been unhappy with performance. And Jonathan was in the post game here. I saw the video. He didn't seem very happy again.
Yeah, which is funny because for anyone who's kind of gotten the tone of Carlos Llamosa's interviews, he seems like a pretty reserved, calm guy. Even when things aren't going well, he's not going to be visibly frustrated and angry. He's going to be just kind of yeah, we're not doing well. I don't know what to say. He's very calm and laid back about it, I'd say. I'd also like to point out some of these opportunities that Lexington fluffed that they could have buried SAFC with were not even just their own making. It was SAFC having
how many turnovers?
Giveaway in the back. I mean,
many turnovers.
Yeah, I don't think they track turnovers in the stats or anything. But go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna just say that our two center backs just look freaking lost, and there was a lot of this all the time. And I know, Harry, you mentioned about Richard coming out in some plays and all that, kind of risking some things.
He was out half the first half.
Well, that is, I can tell you this, that's not trusting your defense. Mm-hmm. And we saw the same thing a few years ago with, I think it was Jordan Farr doing the same thing with a game. I forgot which game it was. I don't know, it was the Miami game or one of them before he got benched. He was doing the same thing. When you don't trust your defense, you're going to be doing stuff like that. And, now there was some place he did have to come out and cut off the angle. Because I know Matt was like, what the hell is he doing? It's like he's cutting off his angle.
Well, there was one, he was, a third of the field up? Way, not even outside the box, but way up. And it was engaging in plays. I was like, dude, get back.
But, when you don't trust your defense, that's what's going to happen. But what I saw in the back four, it was just not being on the same page, not executing what I think Llamosa expects them to do, because you can do so much in practice. This is kind of like the test here. Can you execute what you worked on this past week? And I'm sure Yamos is probably getting frustrated, like, hey, we're working hard. I'm just not seeing the results. And maybe, when we first saw the lineup, I said, hey, maybe he's making a statement, because of the last game. Maybe put 2 new guys that say, hey, I want to bench my 2 starters to make a point. But I guess it wasn't the case because of what we have on Wednesday. But still, you have to be prepared. You got to be ready. There was a lot of lazy passes in the back that allowed, luckily Lexington can't shoot anything, just as bad as some CYO teams. But, we're lucky we didn't get blown. I mean, I think it would have been more embarrassing if we ended up getting blown out, which we should have been blown out. But
if you watch this game, it wasn't a 1-0 game.
Mm-mm.
If you watch this game, it was not a 1-0 game. Matt, I know you guys were working hard in the bunker, or whatever. I don't know what you call it now. But and I know TV's, because I didn't go to the game because I had my meniscus repaired on Wednesday, and I could have went, but I didn't want to go up and down the stairs and push it more, push it through there. And I was able to give the tickets away to a good family, and ended up giving them last year to the Memphis game, surprisingly. So I apologized to them. They're like, hey, no, it was a good, the game could have been better, but as far as for the kids and the family, they had a great time, which is the important thing for that here. But to me, like I said here, it just, you could sense the frustration with the crowd. You could sense the frustration with the players. And we've talked about this for a couple of weeks now, that it looks like that. I'm not saying that there's locker room issues, but there's something's amiss with this team. Matt, your thoughts? I know you're kind of one of the key leaders of the supporters groups, and kind of have a good pulse of the stadium environment.
I mean, we lost. I lost control in the bunker. There's some of the guys I had to get after the game. So everybody was frustrated. It was bad. It was really bad. So, and I don't know what better to say. It just is what it is right now. These past 2 games, I guess, and it's going to be a groaner for me to say, but I'm not hitting the panic button yet. I'm not going to pitch anybody out yet, because
You're not doing a Harry?
we're still top 5. I'm not caring for anything else but being top 5 right now.
I bitched them out at halftime. I yelled at them and said, go play with some fucking balls. That's just how what I saw out there. It's not, you're a professional player. You don't play. You're out there playing 2nd division soccer, but you're playing like recreation soccer. That's no freaking excuse.
It was like they hadn't played together at
yeah.
all. It just it was.
But Matt, you're right. Matt's right about, like I said, we could be in a lot worse shape. Yeah, we're still in the top 5, but still, this is not the time to start going down. We need to start kind of getting up.
And I think Jenny makes a good point. I wish we'd quit kicking balls back so much and move the ball forward, because we kicked the ball back and into the pressure from Lexington so much in the first half. And, Lexington, to their credit, pressured and got turnovers and created opportunities for that here. So not only
But that goes back to the style of play that we're trying to play.
Right.
It was a position. For that, to avoid that, you gotta send the balls quick. 1 touch, 2 touch. You can't when you hold on to the ball too much. That's when you make the mistakes, and that's when all the passing lanes get cut, and that's what's causing a lot of the issues. Go ahead, Jonathan.
I'm just gonna say, interestingly, building off of this, we're talking a lot about how bad it looked last night, but SAFC not being able to deal with a team pressing them very high up like that, pressing SAFC's back line, that was not just a problem last night, because I remember that being one of my takeaways from the Las Vegas game, is this first choice SAFC back line was not ready for the pressure that Las Vegas's attacking core was applying to them. So this wasn't even just last night's issue. This is
even New Mexico,
at least for a couple weeks now.
Well, Sacramento too in the second half.
Sacramento's.
Yeah. I mean,
This
I'm
team
just
does not
making the
handle
point that like
pressure.
it's not
Yeah.
even the bad backline last night, and I don't remember it necessarily being this big of an issue until this last month or so. And also talking about recent results, it's kind of weird because as much as SAFC liked having that mental health break, obviously they get some time to step away from the game, kind of reset, and also from a physical perspective, we're able to get some guys at least allegedly healthy again. I mean, the injury report's already at 4 or 5 players again, but since then, SAFC's results have really dropped off. Whereas before that, you had 4 straight wins in all competitions. So that break really just ruined the momentum for SAFC, and they have not been the same team since.
Yeah, but
So
also, if you think about it, last night there was a lot of questionable calls by these refs. There was one call closer to us.
Lazy.
Hold up,
No,
no.
hold up,
no.
hold
Because
up.
here,
I'm not saying they
Our
bailed
buddy
us out.
Sam, refs
I'm
bailed
not
us
saying
out a
they
lot
bailed us
last
out.
night. We stood around watching Lexington run laps. No hustle, no going after balls. Too much watching shit happen. And then of course El Aguilar, Rafa's buddy. In general, SAFC looks lost like a deer in headlights.
I'm not
Um,
saying they. I'm not going to say they bailed us out. I'm going to say that there was a lot of questionable calls that they
I
weren't
I didn't
that
see
we
it.
weren't getting.
There
There,
was
there
there
was one.
was there was
There
two
was there
actually.
was no. There was
Two,
three. There was two in the box and then one close to us. There was they called a foul on I don't remember who it was near us,
there was
and
one on
the center
Jorge.
line left.
Yeah. There was one on Jorge, and there was one on
Can y'all hear
Agudelo.
me?
He did get. Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can hear.
Agudelo did get kicked in the box, like in the
That was in
stomach.
the second half. Yeah, second half. Yeah.
Yeah, so that one should have been called. That should have been called.
So Jonathan, and this is a point that Jonathan made at half. Instead of being down 4-0, we were down 1-0, and I wasn't there, but I saw the message and I was like, "Holy shit!" Because there's been a little bit of gossip about Patino coming back, and we're like, "Yeah, no, that's never gonna happen." Bam! Santiago Patino's back. I was like, "Yes, we're changing the mode." So we'll go into the Santiago Patino halftime. Before we do that here, Rafa, if you will give So, Jonathan, I don't know if you were tipped to this or not, with you being the great media expert here. Your thoughts initially of Santiago Patino, and if you did know, you're a son of a bitch for not leaking it to us.
So I was told before the match, hey, just a heads up, we're gonna have a kind of an announcement with our team of the decade. And so I was kind of like, okay, they've done that a few times, but it seemed a little weird that I would get prior notice like that. So they obviously at halftime bring Patino out, recognize him. Obviously, he's like a cult figure in SanAntonio, has been the architect of a few of the biggest moments on that pitch, at least under SAFC. So it's kind of like, are they going to do more? I'm kind of thinking as they've got him out there, are they about to do more than just recognize him as team of the decade? Which is interesting because if you know SAFC, they're not really the kind of team to do this, I would say. They're not the team to announce a player signing on the field at halftime of a match. That is a very un-SAFC thing to do.
Didn't they do it
But they
once?
need to do that more. They
They
need to
did, I
do that
think they
more.
did. I think they did it one time. I believe.
I'm not
I think
I
was it
don't
with
remember.
Wasn't it with Pirano?
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that. You think he
Yeah,
did
because that
that?
wasn't in season. I don't remember, but that was in season.
Remember, because he came in August or something like that. I wonder. I thought we did have something like that.
Maybe they have. I don't know. But
But I don't
But
remember
bottom
one at
line, they do need to
halftime
do
like
that
this.
more.
yeah, it is, even if they have done it once before, the idea is it's not a very SAFC thing, but they did it. And, this obviously, if you listen to this show and probably even just generally in the fan base, having a reliable goal scorer has been a constant complaint this entire year. And no wonder when you've got guys getting injured, rotating in and out, no one seems to be able to finish chances. So it's been discussed, hey, Patino finishes that. They need a guy like him. Um, so on paper, at least, this is a great thing for SAFC. It gives them at least one person who has done it in the past for SAFC. Now, I do, there are some similarities between the teams he's played in before, but obviously quite a lot has changed over the last year and a half. A lot of different guys, a new coach,
Different
obviously.
coach.
Yeah. So whether he settles in as nicely as people want him to, we'll see. And also, I'd say, this provides hope. This is like potential, but this does not mean that automatically SAFC is going to start scoring, one or two more goals a game just by virtue of having Santi. We don't know what kind of shape he's in. I think part of why we discussed him on the last show was, hey, he's a free agent. So there's a question of how much has he sort of been working out before he landed with SAFC. But I mean, if nothing else, because of what he's done for SAFC in the past, it's just a bit of a boost, a bit of confidence. And for all the people saying, hey, they're not making us, I even said in my preview for this Lexington match, SAFC usually likes to make one or two offensive signings during the summer. They haven't done that yet, so I guess they've got to work with the guys at their disposal. Well, now they've made that at least one of those big offensive signings. It's exciting, but it's also high pressure because with the big void up top for SAFC, people are going to want him to hit the ground running and try and be patient with Santi. It may take him a little while to get back into it, or he may score a hat trick on his first match. Who knows? But there's a lot of pressure, I think, coming in mid-season like this when SAFC could really use exactly that kind of player.
Or who slap around somebody at Colorado.
And I will say the exciting part about it is he's not just signed for this year. He's signed to a multi-year deal. So that means, in USL, not that necessarily means a whole lot, but that means that he will be back for that here.
Will he, though? Will he?
I
SAFC
think he
in
will.
2023 signed him to a multi-year deal. What happened at the start of 2024?
Yeah.
Transferred
to Vietnam.
To Vietnam. Bigger question is, why was Patino a free agent this far into the season? You got to remember, it's not this far. His season ended, July 1st?
Yeah.
Or their contracts ended because he was playing in Sudan or over there. So it wasn't a normal situation. There's still players being signed. And like I said here, I know it's still subject to approval. But so here's my thing. SanAntonio's down 1-0. The stadium gets a bump with Patino signing because even I got pumped. I got excited. 2
and 2 together.
There's the reason. Ticket prices to pay Patino.
Recurring the Vietnam money.
That may be true. I've people are like, we touched base on it last Thursday with the ticket price increase, and at the end of the show we may get again. I was hoping to get Royce on Saturday, but unfortunately he got him and his family's dealing with some health issues, and hopefully him and Susie get healthy for that here with Royce along those lines. But second half, not a lot happened. It wasn't a poor half, but in my opinion, it wasn't a great half either. I know it's an improvement from the first half, but At no point did I think San Antonio was coming back and equalizing, even though they were only down 1. And I know that's probably horrible to say. I just had zero confidence. To me, the biggest thing is the body language of the players. I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Yeah, like you said, I'll just kind of build off of that a little bit. It was an improvement in the second half, but that's not really saying something because as far as where SAFC set the bar in the first half, it was basically just resting on the ground. I mean, they set it that low. It was that bad in that first half if you didn't watch it. So not getting overrun by Lexington was an improvement. And, I mean, it wasn't, like you said, it wasn't great. But I guess compared to the dumpster fire that was the first half, yeah, it was better.
Matt or Rafa, your thoughts on the second half?
I mean, there was a couple. Yeah, I guess there was a couple chances, but you can tell they just were not. I think the one clear chance was that shot by Buckmaster that was going to go in. If that one's deflected, that was going to go in. That was kind of like the Hail Mary pass as far as the second half, but everything else was just it was all shit.
So I usually don't do this, but I have to leave.
Peace out, Matt.
But yes, signing amazing. I was very shocked. I told Rafa before the second half, I was like, "There's your number 9. Shut up now." So just say that. And then on top of that, just wanted to stir the pot a little more and say that Chris Leja said that Real Madrid is gonna fuck up on Tuesday. So I just want to stir the pot. I'll see y'all later. Later, guys.
Yeah, I have his thing here. If we want to circle back to that here,
but I'll be watching on YouTube.
Rafa talking
have a
about
good one.
refs getting paid is hysterical, as if 90% of their champions weren't a robbery as well.
Why is he talking about Man City and PSG and Liverpool? That's the 90% there.
Laughable.
So San Antonio ends up losing. My biggest thing about this game is it's disheartening to see how they played. You could understand with the player rotation, with the injuries, but as Rafa's mentioned here, it was like they hadn't ever played before. Like, they're not following Coach Lamosa, or Coach Lamosa's not coaching them up right. Whatever spin that you want to do it. And all fair play to Lexington. They came, they got the goal, they held strong. To me, what sums up this game was Jorge Hernandez red card at 90+3 and a tackle that did not have to be made. From behind. I know AJ was like, hey, that should have been a yellow. I was like, no, it was from behind. The studs were up a little bit. It just wasn't needed. But to me, that play summed up San Antonio FC that night, where body language, frustration, couldn't overcome the great news of Patino coming back. Couldn't overcome the support from the fans. I honestly think, in my opinion, SAFC is at a crossroads right now. And I know we're middle of the season here.
We pass.
Almost into the final third of the regular season, at least.
3 quarters.
I mean, we've played 19 league matches. There are 30 total because you lose the 4.
I know everybody's saying, hey, we're top 5, I think. But the gap between being out of it and being in it is they're not as good as Tulsa. Sacramento's warming up. New Mexico's going through what San Antonio's doing. El Paso's off and on. The West is down. And to me, that's the only saving grace for SanAntonio FC is just how poor the West is. The West is at this point, middle of the table. I think if it was last year, we would be saying a different discussion. But yeah, we're fourth right now at 28 points. Actually, we're probably should be third because we have the head-to-head actually on El Paso. Because we did beat them, right? Yeah, we beat them. So yeah, we beat
SAFC. Yeah, on the USL website, SAFC is in third.
So, I know on FOTMob it's fourth, and it's because they go to goal difference.
Right.
But Orange County's warming up. Lexington, is starting to put through. Colorado Springs is all right, but to me, Tulsa, Sacramento, I think you're going to start to see them pull away. And then, do I think SAFC makes the playoffs? Sure. I think they've got enough talent, but I think it's also because between third and eighth is 3 points. And every one of the teams outside of El Paso and Orange County has a negative goal difference. I don't know what else to say. And then at the end of the game, I don't know if Mitch Tanner gets an appearance because according to the USL website, which would be his 250th, he is listed as a sub, as well as Omar, because the game ended. I don't know if you watched the end of the broadcast. I don't know what happened, but Tainter and Omar each get yellow cards, and Tainter had to be pushed back from whatever took place for it here. I know we kind of talked about just the spiciness to kind of circle back to SAFC. Its leaders, Tainter, Jorge, Patino, all have short fuses when it comes to getting cards.
I'm wondering if the USL is gonna go back and watch the video of Sargent showing the one finger salute to the fans.
Oh, is that what happened?
Well, yeah.
I didn't, because on the broadcast all we saw was that Tainter was pissed, dude. Yeah. Tainter was pissed.
And a lot had to do with that too. Yeah, that Sargent was doing actually a one finger salute to the fans, and yeah,
So all credit to Mitch, dude. It's like I said here.
But that's what a captain's supposed to do: defend your teammates. And
but yeah, I was all like, dude.
But they also got that referee.
250.
But that referee too. He made the game also about himself too. He did. He really did. Because there's one play that the linesman made a call on a foul on the wing, and he called him down, and it was an obvious foul, but called him down. And I was like, he did lose control, well, even for both sides. But he started making a little bit on himself and stuff. Just kind of get a little butthurt about because the fans are on him as well. But like I said, if you don't want to give the ref excuse, you still have to win the game yourself. So, but I think that was the frustration with Mitch and probably with Omar about that. Just the ref wasn't really.
But yeah, if Sargent flipped off the fans, I can understand Mitch going in and defending, and I can understand Omar going in and defending. And I know why they got the yellow cards, because they probably said something that they shouldn't have said. And because you could, I know for Mitch, dude, he was ready to throw punches. You could tell that. You could tell that. And if Sargent, I wasn't there, so I can't verify it. But if Sargent did give the one finger salute, then yeah, that's a bitch move for that here. But to me, Matt mentioned Mario and Junior got in his head.
that was on Sargent. He actually almost squirted a water bottle at us. Believe it or not, I don't know what kept him from doing it. He's like, I guess you don't want to get press charges on you or something, or get suspended indefinitely. Yeah, you can tell he's not a very mature player.
Leha, who's a fan of draft picks, SS&E putting out lame product on the pitch and the court. We'll see. I think both will make the playoffs. I think the Spurs will take a step up.
Well, one thing as far as to finish this game and going forward, and then Jonathan mentioned this about the last few games. Our defense has not been able to defend well against the press, and that's something that I think is how. Can you hear me? Yeah. Can our defense? They got to find a solution how to stop the press, because I'm guarantee you the next game Hartford's going to do that. Monterey Bay is going to do that. So he's going to have to put the right personnel back there to get rid of to neutralize that. And, because if we don't fix it, it's going to get worse.
So, and I'll ask you, Jonathan, and I'll ask you, Rafa. Is there anything positive that you can take from this game? The only positive that I think we could say is I thought Urita played well. I thought Dimitri played okay. For here, yeah, I'd like to see him to get a little bit more minutes. Jorge didn't really do anything, and I think part of it is, and there was one play, there were 4 players on him. So he's getting boxed out. He just go ahead, Jonathan.
I was going to say literally as I'm going through the photos to decide what to use for my recap last night, I found one of Jorge on the ball, but there are like 3 or 4 Lexington players surrounding him, no other SAFC players. Like sometimes that's kind of what it was. Is in some ways you could see who some of the more senior and consistent players are this season. Particularly in that first half, you'd see how they were performing and to some degree not being terrible compared to some of the other senior players, guys who have plenty of experience, who aren't playing as often and just were not stepping up. And this is actually, we haven't really mentioned it here, and I don't know if you guys saw it in my recap, but this is something Carlos Hermosa addressed, was kind of saying, credit to our academy guys, 16 years old, a couple of them, Leo Rutia and Landry Walker both came on. They had good showings, but it also created a contrast then with some of the veteran players who Hermosa thought were being outshined by 2 16-year-olds. I mean, that speaks pretty poorly about you if your performance is being eclipsed by a couple of academy players. And no disrespect to them, but like they did in some ways provide more for SAFC, look better for SAFC than guys who have been professionals for years.
And Jenny makes a good point. Dimitri needs to bulk up and get stronger. We knew that going in, and I think you are starting to see him get a little bit more, because he's 18, right? I think he's
recently turned 19.
Oh, he's 21.
19. Oh yeah, 19. Yeah.
So he's a youngster, and I know he's a multi-year guy here. So
we need to bulk him up and take him to Marvel Margie's or something.
Well, no, we don't need him to turning into Jimmy Madranda, who looks like he's been to a couple of too many tacos, but he's still got speed for that here. Just for me, this is a game. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say just go to there. Yeah, he did a great job. I think he's a bright spot. I think he's gonna be a bright spot.
So the sad news, or the good news, I guess, the sad news. Wednesday is a red out. So wear your red shirt, or the first $2,000, or not the first 2,000, the first 2,000 fans.
It seems that way.
2,000 fans will get a red shirt as you walk into the stadium for that here against Hartford. Hartford isn't your Hartford of old. They're undefeated in their last 5. They are coached by former Colorado Springs fan favorite head coach Brendan Burke, who, to my knowledge, may, at least with Dan Wise and Katie Goodman mentioned, has not beaten SanAntonio FC. So yeah, we'll see. But
That was
going into the
mostly
game,
under Marcina for what it's worth. His Colorado
yes,
Springs
oh,
teams,
100%.
and then Hartford teams. Marcina knew obviously how to
How to
deal
push
with
the
them.
buttons. Yes.
Yeah, so new coach for SAFC now. Obviously, we'll see.
We'll see. But this isn't like when Hartford was announced. I was like, "Oh yay!" Now I'm like, "Oh shit." So the good news, I'm gonna assume Jorge's gonna play. I'm gonna assume Tainer and Cronali's gonna be playing. So I think
Pacheco.
SAFC is gonna Pacheco. I do know Hartford played most of their starters in a 1-1 draw against Tulsa, where they played pretty good. Tulsa, on the road for that here. I still think SAFC has the capability of winning. I just don't know if, and this is to kind of circle back to this comment here from Sam. I guess Mentality Monsters was for 2022 only. I don't know if mentality, the mentality side, if they're there, and I hope I'm wrong, but just the body language, the communication, just watching them on the pitch, both in the stadium and on TV, something's off on the team. Maybe Patino fixes that. Maybe because you get a goal scorer. Because the team is much different with Mitch and Alex in the back line. There's no question about that.
Do you see Patino maybe playing Wednesday
That'd
or
be up to
seeing
Jonathan.
some minutes?
I mean,
I think he's been in town longer than we anticipate.
Yeah, it depends if the registration and everything has gone through. I could maybe see him on the bench as kind of a break glass in case of emergency player. But I wouldn't get your hopes up. Like, he'll appear when he appears. Like I was saying earlier, who knows what kind of fitness he's got? Who knows what his chemistry is with this team? There are a few guys he's played with before, but he's not necessarily. It's not the same SAFC team he left. That's for sure. So.
Yeah. And then I don't know. I think we'll try to have a show after the game, or maybe not after the game, but Thursday, Friday-ish, or maybe Royce will be feeling better, and we can do one Saturday morning or Saturday something. Even Ginny Checks mentioned team needs to communicate a lot better, and I will give credit to Ginny and Mike. They sat right behind the team and the coaching staff, so they pick up a lot on the communication from the bench. I sat behind 114, and my buddy Chris mentioned that communication for this game with Richard was down compared to what it was previously. So hopefully they can get things figured out. It's a busy week. Maybe that's what they need, is just where they get time in where they can't stop and think about it and dwell on the mistakes, and they just get right back to it. Chris Leha, y'all be good. Good show. I'm gonna go enjoy some cold beers. Enjoy your meat too, even though it's kind of mid. Looking at your pictures on social media there, Chris. But always fun for you to tune in, and always fun to talk. A little bit of banter back and forth with my Twitter frenemy for that here. Anything else you guys got? I know we've all kind of talked about the season ticket prices. I was hoping to get Royce and some of the others on to get their perspective, but we've all kind of explained that. It's for the cost of Patino. Jenny mentions Mitch leadership is needed. But it has to come from more than one person, though. That's my issue with SAFC, because when Mitch is not in there, this team has a huge drop to the basement. But all credit to Lexington. I know when we went up there, they probably felt that we stole the game from them because they got up 2-0, and then we came back. Come down to SanAntonio, they get the 1-0 win, and like I said, I know their fans and supporters, are pretty happy with the result. Unlucky goal to lose off of, but At no point did you think San Antonio deserved to win this game, at least in my opinion. For that here. Tonight, like I said here, 7:30. If you can, and if you're not, if you can't, you can watch on ESPN Plus. UTSA Women's plays TCU. So, like I said, if you want to support local soccer, there is a game tonight. If you're watching this here, if not, like I said here, if you follow it, if you catch the podcast in the morning, try to follow UTSA Women. Like I said here, it's their season's just starting out. And like I said here, if we can kind of support them as best as we can, because as far as women's teams, they're probably the best known women's team.
We also have UIW, St. Mary's,
yeah.
Trinity, A&M, San
Trinity
Antonio.
Boys and Girls,
so also give love to them too as well.
Maybe we ought to do a college soccer show, Rafa.
I would need to apply for my credentials, my college credentials, to go to these games, so I can show them off on Twitter.
Jonathan, I'm going to go to you because I don't want to get in trouble. Your final thoughts.
My final thoughts would just be that, like I said, you could tell SAFC was already had at least one eye on Wednesday. Is there a comment that's got us still getting?
Yeah, Coach Cano.
Okay. Okay.
This is neither the 12, 13, 14, or 15 man like bars.
Yeah, so anyway, like we've talked about, that lineup shows that SAFC was already looking toward Wednesday, that's what, at the very least, Yamosa and maybe the club as a whole, who knows, are prioritizing. Given what SAFC sacrificed last night, that match just became a whole lot bigger. And if SAFC doesn't advance from that, I think I probably said it earlier, I don't know if it was on air or not, but if SAFC doesn't advance, this week's already a loss. I mean, you could win in Monterey Bay. Okay, great, 3 points, but you lost a pretty disappointing home game in the league. You lost a home game in the cup. And this is hypothetical. This is if SAFC loses on Wednesday, but I started to look at Hartford, and yeah, they've been in good form recently, whereas SAFC has not been. If SAFC shows up, even with a modicum of the mentality that was there last night, it's not going to look good.
No, they'll get rolled.
They shouldn't show up like that. But at the same time, you could have said that in previous matches. Oh, they're not going to be that bad, and then in some cases, kind of were. So Wednesday's big, and given that SAFC is giving out the red T-shirts and everything, I think even at the front office level, it's something that they're really hyping up, that they've been more focused on, perhaps. So, going to be really interesting to see how the rest of this week pans out, because SAFC obviously did not get off on the right foot Saturday night. Not even just in terms of the result, but in terms of the performance. That is one to forget.
So if they tie, they go straight to PKs, right, Jonathan?
Yeah.
Yes, they should.
Okay.
So, Rafa, you're good, the bad, the ugly. Did we cover it?
Pretty much. And like Jonathan said, we play bad again on Wednesday. You may see some of those red T-shirts get thrown back on the field. So, same XL T-shirts. They never throw them to us, Sam. So, but I guess I could say, you already have pretty much a frustrated, rabid fan base that wants to see results. And you're looking at the comments. They're already fed up with this play. They want people to step up, and they need to step up.
Well, it's not the play. It's the players and the heart. Yeah.
So, but it also is the play too, as far as executing your game plan.
Yeah.
If you're not going to execute the game plan that your manager sets for you, you're not going to succeed. I've been in Coach Yamosa's shoes, and I'm one not to, like I said, I would never yell on my players and this and that, but I made it straight to the point about things that get your ass in gear, or I'm gonna get people in to take care that's going to execute what I'm asking to do, and maybe he's starting to see who. Most is starting to see who he can depend on, who isn't, who's not mentally, because we sure as hell heck on Saturday we had players that were not mentally prepared, and I think that's he's starting to kind of figure out who he can depend on and who he can't, and it's going to pretty much leave him on the bench or even off the roster.
So let me ask, and this question for both of you: does SAFC need to cut some of the dead weight?
I would think so. If you're not producing, if you have not improved, if you're not doing anything, you're not executing what I asked you to do. Yeah, you need to cut loose. Get next man up.
Because if you look at the roster, they have one roster slot available for signing. For that here, through that, because they have 8 academy players signed to pro academy contracts. So they only have 27 active slots, and right now the current roster is at 26 for that here with the signing of Santiago Patino for that here. So to me, we've been talking about, hey, we need help at the wing.
We need speed on the wing.
And this is something Jonathan mentioned and something we've kind of flirted about. Is midfield maybe a bigger concern that we're not really addressing?
Well, I guess they go hand in hand. You do need a goal scorer up front that's going to deliver. But like I said, with the address and then with the loss of Paredes, you have to address that. You have to
does
find.
Dogo Pacheco?
Well, he's not. I mean, he's not. He's a great player. He's like I said, he did score that one game against Sacramento, but you still need something to complement him or add a depth, because if he goes, remember he was also on the injury list too. Mm-hmm. So he goes down, now we're up a creek. So you definitely have to find someone that can play his position as well.
And to me, SanAntonio historically will have players that mutually terminated for various reasons. So far, that has not happened, which is also another positive, negative. I don't know how to look at that. Are they just rolling with what they got this year? Because if you go, since I've started tracking player lineups, or player signings, there's typically been quite a few movements of players that, whether they retired, transferred, mutually terminated along those lines here. Usually, on average, probably 2 or 3, probably on average here. And then Sam mentions this here. Serious observation question: why is there so much backward and east movement? We're not getting the ball on the pitch for anyone or even having a chance to score. I think that's just how, because Coach Lamosa, my biggest issue with Coach Lamosa, and Rafa, you've tied into this, and Jonathan's tied into this. He came in as a defensive coach, and the biggest issue, I guess you could say the biggest issue is scoring, but the biggest issue last night was the defensive structure and what we've been seeing here. The teams not being able to adapt to pressure defense from the other side here for that here based on our defense. So I don't.
We're not keeping our shape. That's the thing. We're not keeping our shape. Is it? We're not. Like he mentions about the East-West move. That's we're playing possession. Remember that was implemented last year until our team scrapped that, started to go direct, and even that didn't work. I think everyone's expecting us to go direct, kick it long, and try to get under that. Defenses are well equipped to defend that really well, and they already know that we can probably go to that. But if this would work if we execute things. Once the thing is, we're not have the playmakers up top. Now that like what you mentioned about Jorge being defended by 4 guys, Jorge's got to realize, hey, I'm being defended by 4 guys. I got to release
There's
that
got to be
ball.
somebody open.
Someone that's open. And why is that not happening? Maybe he has no trust in those players. That goes back to, he has to give that trust. And if that guy doesn't execute, hey, at least Jorge did that. And Jorge did that. That goalie, that pass he gave to Pacheco. Those are the things he has to be recognizing. If I'm being double teamed and this and that, someone is open, and I got to send the ball up to the space. But also, we got to create space once we get into the 18. That's where we have very lack of creativity to create shots, space, and then finish shots. And that's where you're bringing Patino, because if you remember the last time Patino played, some of that scrimmage, because me and Harry, you were there, that system worked for him. He was doing a lot of damage, create chances and got goals on that Costa Rican team. So he fits that system. So we now have someone that can create a shot, but also he's going to get that some of the attention. Maybe that's going to allow maybe Jorge or maybe Nicky also some space to allow others to get those opportunities. But the main thing is you can't depend on pitching to score all the goals. Others have to finish when they have those opportunities.
All right, final thoughts. Jonathan, we'll start with you. Then I'll go.
I thought we already
Rafa
started final thoughts.
Oh, did we? Well, then we got
I'm pretty sure we did.
All right, so you're done with your final thoughts?
Back into it, yes.
All right, so Jonathan, you're done. Bye, Jonathan. My final thought, and I'm going to tie into this comment here, because this has been an issue with Spurs and SanAntonio FC, and according to some, we're not real fans for being mad and critical of the play. To me, if a real fan is critical of his team, a real fan can give constructive criticism. Now, a real fan doesn't. Let me make sure I'm saying this properly. Doesn't threaten people or, be an ass or, cross lines on social media to people in real life along those lines here. Just like with politics, we all have different backgrounds, views along those lines here. I see the game my way. Rafa sees the game his way. Jonathan sees the game his way. Sam sees the game his way. No one's wrong. We just have different perspectives from our backgrounds. And, obviously on games like last night, there's nobody that's happy. From SanAntonio FC, upper management, all the way down to the fans, that attended the game or watched on TV. Nobody was happy with the performance. That doesn't mean just because you're given constructive criticism, as long as you don't go personal and attacking somebody as an individual and you're just attacking them for, you're not attacking them, but you're criticizing what their performance that they did on the pitch. That's being a fan. That's being there. So if people can kind of keep that perspective, I know the Spurs are going to come on, in a couple months? October, November. They're going to have some games that are great. They're going to have some games that are shit, just like SanAntonio had last night. And SanAntonio is the same thing. It's okay to call out the shit performance, but you also have to be the same person that gives them their props when they do great things. If you're a fan, and we all know that there's a certain fan, if you're on Reddit, that only talks about SanAntonio FC when it's a negative and never when it's a positive. It's the same thing here, along those lines here. So, and Jenny makes a good point here. Fans realize there are faults. No one is perfect. Still support them. Don't trash your men. And like I said here, the trashing, I think, can be kind of subjective a little bit sometimes. But please, support SAFC. Like I said here, I do believe they are trying. I may not agree with some of their moves. I may not agree with some of their hires. I may not agree with some of their tactics on how they do things. I wish they were 100% more transparent, especially with the price increases. to give fans a little bit of, hey, this is the reason why we're having to increase it, and that way fans can maybe justify it a little bit more. But like I said, the team does give effort. I know last night wasn't the best example of it, but it's one game out of 34. And that'll probably be their shit game of the year that they had. It better be anyways, for that here. So, Rafa, your final thoughts. And then, of course, good luck. If you can, go out and support UTSA women's soccer tonight. Like I said, they're playing against TCU. I guess it's a pretty good team. I know they're a Big 12 team.
Yeah, they get some good recruits.
Steve is going out there, and he's going to watch TCU. Steve, bad on you for it here, but
I think one of his former players is on that team. Yeah.
So
I was gonna say, just to kind of follow up on what you mentioned about the fans and all that. Like I said, we're gonna go through rough patches, up and down and stuff. Just support the team, and I'll give you one example. Like Matt, after the game, Matt always talks up to the players and all that. Hey, hey, we're still in it. We're still behind you. Yeah, it wasn't our night. That's just the way it is. I was on them yesterday. Hey, play. Sometimes, you get frustrated because when some are not playing with heart, you expect I think we were, I don't know, like I said, we're spoiled by winning the championship. This is a new team. This is not 2022. This is a new coach. This is a new squad. I'm being patient as far as, expectations. I'm not being pessimistic. I wasn't expecting us to get to the maybe Western Conference final or the finals. Playoffs, yeah. I was more. That's my being realistic. Get to the playoffs, and then see what happens from there. Maybe we end up being like Colorado last year. Anything can happen. Hey, but like I said, we are still in a good position to win the trophy, which is the Jaeger Cup. It'd be nice. Yeah, win 2 trophies too.
Win 2 trophies.
Yeah, we can be the first team to ever win the Jaeger Cup. That'll be a good accomplishment.
Well, this for USL Championship.
Yeah, for championship.
Northern Colorado won it last year and then folded,
Yeah.
so might want to be careful on that. Fred, last night was awful. Fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. Got to go forward and support the team, and hopefully we can see this improvement. Exactly. And I think that was the issue is everybody could see the play on the field didn't match what normally is put on the field, and that represents the badge of San Antonio FC. Rafa, any other things that you got? I don't know. I'm still thinking about. I might try to go out to the UTSA match tonight. I don't know if you are or not. That's part of the reason why I'm doing this early, is so that way I have the opportunity. Monica's fixing some wings for that here, so yippee for me. And for there, but anything that you have, Jonathan, he didn't want to leave the stream. He left his room. His room looks sad.
There he is. He's back. Just gonna say, as far as I guess freaking behalf for Matt, Wednesday there probably won't be a tailgate because it is a 7:30 game. It's not an 8:00 game. Just remember that. So for I think the cutoff time is about 6:00 for the free parking. So make sure they're by
I won't be able to make. I won't even be able to make that.
So make sure they're by 6. I don't know. We'll have a beer gate. It's probably be a BYOB gate. So
there will. I'll just say there probably won't be a tailgate. Just number one. Historically, even when it was the Crocketeers, Bear County, Wednesday matches midweek, the tailgates were a fraction of what a normal tailgate would be on a weekend. So if you do go for the tailgate, like I said here,
BYOB.
BYOB.
It is a school night.
School night. Yeah. AJ's got practice, so it'll. I don't know if I'll be able to make it on. I won't. Because I get off work at 5:30 to go cross town. I don't even know if I could make it there by 6.
Yeah. So like I said, that's probably the plan as far as for that. But there will be a tailgate. I think on the September 6th game against New Mexico, there'll be that. And then I think maybe. I think did mention that maybe on the 20th make it like a little big one for that because it is Hispanic Heritage Month. So, but as far as that, like I said, some great. Hopefully, we get a win Wednesday, and we'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll host another game we'll host a semifinal.
We will see, but as Scott, our old buddy, mentioned up in Wichita Falls, hopefully him and the family are doing well up there. Todd, Gordino, Royce, Robert. Trying to think who else was former members of the SAFC fan. Danielle for a period of time. Hope everybody that's helped built this channel, all the fans that have tuned in watching, even Chris Leha and your mid-meat ability cooking. Hopefully everybody has a great evening. Go out and support, spend time with your family. But what's life without goals? We are out of here.